All right, we're live. Welcome back to the second episode of the Pedro and Hannibal podcast. And we have, I'm Hannibal, and we have someone with a sweet new mic. Sounds terrific.
Microphone Pedro. Check 1 2 1 2. I said a microphone check 1 2 1 2. What up, Hannibal? How are you, man?
I'm doing fantastic. Well, I felt better. Well, actually, I'm gonna feel better after this episode. Did not feel better when I looked at this list. We're going to talk about this RollingStone's top 200 greatest rap album list. It came out 8 days ago. We have a lot to talk about. I have a lot to say. I even have some theories on how this list even came together. I have theories. I have no proof or information. I have theories in my head.
Who doesn't like a good theory, though?
I'm going to blur them all out at you. So we're going to go down this list of, this is supposed to be the greatest rap albums. And it's supposed to be, from 1 to 200. We're going to go through some outrageous picks that they have here. But before we do that, Pedro, the floor is yours. Game 5.
Oh boy.
What happened? NBA Finals, obviously. Game 5. What happened?
I don't know if I've ever watched a game. It's been a while where I was so mad because Steph Curry doesn't hit one 3-point shot the entire. It's been 200 and something consecutive playoff games where it's never happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they lose that game. Now, the Celtics in the fourth quarter just, they had one good fourth quarter. They came back in game 1, but everything since then, their second halves have been very lackluster. Mm-hmm. The turnovers are atrocious. I know the Warriors have a good defense, but the clip that Brown and Tatum and Smart and Horford are turning the ball over is just ridiculous. And they don't do well when they turn the ball over. So, Andrew Wiggins had a fantastic game. Klay Thompson had a couple big shots. But when Steph Curry scores 12 or 14, whatever amount of points, and he doesn't hit any threes, you need to win that game. So the Boston Celtics left a win on the table, and they should be ashamed. And, Draymond Green played a little better. The Warriors did some good things, but Jason Tatum has got to show up in the fourth quarter. He has to. If he wants to take the next step, and we want to crown him, he's maybe top 5 current players. He's taking the lead. He's not showing it to me. He hasn't, and I think he's had a, lackluster finals in my opinion. I expected more out of him, so I'm a little disappointed to say the least.
Yeah, the turn, like some parts of the game was really unwatchable. Not unwatchable, but it was like a lot of. Again, this is the new NBA, and I understand we're going to launch 3-pointers. But it's like sometimes, and like you said before, the Warriors have great ball movement. So it's not like they just, can't play the game of basketball. But there's times where Curry just, like when you throw a 3 up in there and it bricks, it just stops all momentum and tempo sometimes. But he hits them more than he does. He hits them more than he misses. Obviously, last game he didn't. But when Jordan Poole is like throwing, like the way sometimes they shoot these threes. It's like, oh, come on. But
these light skins, Hannibal. Like, what? And I'm Puerto Rican. Boy, Klay Thompson.
Yeah, in case there anyone who doesn't know.
Klay Thompson, I can't stand him.
Yeah.
I don't like how he walks. I don't like how he plays basketball. I don't like his little swag or whatever. I'm not a fan. It's going to be a tough summer if the Celtics don't win these next 2 games because,
if I can put if I could think of what the Boston Celtics, I think it's still a successful season. I know, there's a lot of qualifiers. Okay, Bucks, no Middleton, right? Or the Brooklyn Nets didn't have Ben Simmons, Heat, Jimmy Butler, if he just launched that 3 for no particular, But at the same time, they're still young and they have a lot of ability. They need a point guard. They need somebody to run the offense. It can't be just Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, basically ISOing and their passing ability needs work. Marcus Smart is not a point guard. He's not. He's a shooting guard. I don't know. I guess it's shooting guard, right?
Yeah, he's not a facilitator, and that's why Jason Tatum's leading the team in assists this playoffs. He actually has more assists than anybody in all the playoffs.
Yeah,
anybody, regardless of position. But I think you bring up a good point. He's a dog defensively. Like Marcus Smart's, good player, but they're asking Brown and Tatum to do too much. And I saw those guys get tired in the fourth quarter. They played 44 minutes.
Chasing, probably chasing Curry around.
Yep, chasing Curry and Wiggins and all these, and Thompson. And they played 44, but they came out the last couple. So the plan was for them to play 46 to 47 minutes. You can't sustain that. They needed to take a break at some point in the third quarter. Jason Tatum took about 2 or 3 really bad shots. He airballed in the fourth quarter. When you airball a shot and you're a professional athlete that trains like him, it's because you're tired. Mm-hmm. So it's I blame that on the coaches a little bit. You got to give these guys, you got to give them 2 minutes or something. Have them fresh for the last 5 or 6 minutes. So we'll see.
But they were behind. They were behind the whole game. That's probably why they had to keep them in there. Well,
they did, but they came back.
The really bad first 2 minutes.
Celtics came back in the third. They took the lead in the third quarter. So the Celtics had a 5 or 6 point lead halfway in the third. They should have sat them down at that point, in my opinion. But we'll see. I think the Celtics will win Game 6. Game 7 at this point, I don't know. Going back to San Francisco, if it gets to that point, that could be anybody's game. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Game 6. Right now, the Celtics are favored to win. I think it's 3.5 the last time. I saw it this morning. And I was debating, that kind of makes sense. Because right now, everyone is just basically saying the Celtics are done. You know how the sports media and how the fans. So I'm like, usually when everyone says this team is going to lose, most likely Boston Celtics should pull this out.
And they're at home, so you're going to get a couple points for that. So.
But the problem is Curry had such a terrible game.
I know. He's going to go. He's going to get a 50 piece. He's going to get 50.
I'm saying he's going to at least hit 30. At least hit 30. And then what happens if Game 6 Clay comes out and he just hits his first 2 3-pointers and hits 3 of them?
Lord.
It's over, right? If Clay starts throwing the ball wherever as soon as he gets it, just launch. He has that quick release, and he just starts hitting threes.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's going to be tough. Yeah. And then, the turnovers by Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown can't hold the ball sometimes. I don't know. What's going on with his hands.
It's like their move. It's like sometimes especially Jaylen Brown, I feel like he moves too fast.
And trying hard.
It's like too much sometimes. And, I still think the Celtics are a deeper, overall better basketball team. Mm-hmm. But, Curry's there's no way he's going to have another game like that. I think it's going to be hard for them to, he's going to come out hot. He's going to be mad. I think he's upset at himself a little bit. Yeah. And a hot take here, but if Andrew Wiggins drops 25 and has another 15 boards, he's the Finals MVP.
He's the most consistent.
That's what I'm saying.
They had. I mean, he's guarding. It's kind of cool that he kind of morphed himself from being like the number 1 pick, but really just raw talent, athletic, could jump out the building. But he didn't have. I felt like he had the motor or the love for basketball. I don't know if that was a lot of knock on him. I think it's just he was in a bad team. Probably too much was asked of him. He went to the Golden State Warriors, where he's not asked to be the man, and he thrives on that. The ability that he could defend. I mean, he's grabbing rebounds.
Dude, he's the leading rebounder. He's the leading rebounder, I think, on the Warriors. So
it's possible. But I guess the problem is, I still would give it to if they won. They didn't say if they went 7 games, unless Curry just had like 2 god awful Game 6 and Game 7.
Yeah,
he basically he single-handedly won that. I forget what game was that where he scored.
Game 3. No, Game 4. Game 4.
If he didn't do that,
Game 4. Yeah,
series is over.
Good point.
If he didn't basically score 4, he literally carried the team. No one else was doing anything.
Yeah,
I just wouldn't pull that out.
I just wouldn't be surprised because, I think with what Wiggins is doing. So if Curry has another bad game tomorrow, let's say he hits 2 threes, he scores 16 points, right? And Wiggins has a 25-point game with 15 boards, and he plays good defense on Tatum. He was more consistent. He's playing both ends of the floor. And, Andre Iguodala.
Yeah, good point.
Pretty much stole, because look at the stats. Andre Iguodala won that because of defense, but LeBron James had a fantastic, so it didn't really make a lot of logical sense. But Wiggins has actually sometimes put the clamps on Tatum. Now, Tatum's had a decent series, but Tatum should be scoring 30 a game.
Yeah.
He should be about 8 or 9 boards, 8 or 9 assists, and he's below that right now.
Yeah.
And I think
feel
Wiggins
like it's
is
great
giving them trouble.
defense. It's great defense, but Jason Tatum, and it's not like, he's a young guy. He arrived to a finals. Not every player wins their first final. I think he's learning a lot. I think he's a talented guy.
Oh,
absolutely. He just, sometimes it's a moment, sometimes a little bit too big, but we'll see. I actually hope the Celtics win Game 6. I would love to see NBA Finals Game 7. Like that's nothing better than that. So we'll see. We'll see. But you brought up a topic about the NBA coaching. So like, tell me more about like what your thoughts on the effectiveness of NBA coaching.
Yeah. So I kind of have a wild thought about this, right? And it might be unpopular, but that's okay. I think there's a handful of coaches in NBA history that you can tell that those are difference makers. Like these are, Phil Jackson, right? I think the 1 year Doc Rivers had the 2008 Boston Celtics, I think he was a passionate guy. But you see now he doesn't have, he still had players, but he hasn't done anything since.
Yeah.
You talk about Eric Spoelstra, had LeBron, D-Wade, Chris Bosh. They won, but then he's now been able to win a little. He hasn't won a championship, but he's taken a team to the finals without all superstars, but a strong team still, right? I think some NBA coaches are overrated, and this is why I say that. When you get to the NBA, okay, coaching on the NBA level, now I've never done it, okay, but superstars usually win the championships. Okay, look at the history of the league. Usually the player that has the best player on the court is probably going to win that particular finals. Typically, that's how history shows us, whether it's the Bulls, the Spurs, when they had Tim Duncan, the Lakers, Kobe and Shaq, right? They're winning those three-peats, right? Last team to three-peat. The Warriors, Durant and Curry, Thompson, Draymond for 2 years, and they won one without Kevin Durant. But when you have NBA players like that, Giannis won last year, right? He's the best player in basketball last year.
Yeah.
When you have a player like that, I don't think it matters who the coach is sometimes. Now, I think there's a few exceptions. You mentioned earlier this week, Phil Jackson knew how to coach MJ and Scottie. Fantastic point, right? But he's one of the very few exceptions, in my opinion. I think if, the Showtime Lakers back in the day had Pat Riley, great coach, right? But do you really think another coach, maybe some coaches can sometimes get the best and know what to say to players. I think that's more on high school level and college level. I think the coaching there matters more. I think in the NBA, if you got superstars and good assistant coaches that have good schemes,
right?
I think that's what it takes, in my opinion. I don't think Darvin Ham's going to, having whoever's going to coach the Lakers isn't going to make or break it. I don't think Frank Vogel being the coach in 2020 helped the Lakers win. I don't. I think it's because they had LeBron and a healthy AD. So my hot take is I think NBA coaches can be overrated. I think there's a few sprinkles of some really classic coaches that really made some differences. But even those coaches, Phil Jackson had Tex Winter, the architect and the designer of the triangle offense, right? And Phil Jackson took that triangle offense with them to Chicago, took it to the Lakers when he won those championships with the Lakers when they had Kobe and Shaq. So I think sometimes it's about the assistant and having the right system and the right players. I think head coaches, to me in the NBA, are a figurehead sometimes, or a guy with a nice suit. That's it. I'll throw Greg Popovich in there. I think he's also one of the exceptions. I think most of the other championships is because of the players.
It's not as high as a take as it seems when you really think about you need a superstar to win these games. It's similar to the NFL. You need a really good quarterback.
Yes.
It's hard to win without a great quarterback. The last time I've seen an NFL team win without a great quarterback was
Ravens in 01.
Maybe. Yeah.
With the Ravens. Yeah.
And who was the quarterback of the Bucks? Not obviously Tom Brady, but when they won before
Brad Johnson.
So you have to have their top 5 all-time defense, basically, right? Like something else. There had to be superstars on some level on some side of the ball, right? So I do understand that. I do believe there's still value in being a head coach because you have to put all that crap together And sometimes you could put the best players and still not make it. And then that's even a worse, I guess, like stain on you if you can't get this to work.
Yeah.
And when you leave, it works, right? Like Mark Jackson had the Warriors, right? But they were young, but he had them. And then he rubbed some people off the wrong way and the way he did his business. Steve Kerr comes and then they become like the Dynasty Warriors. So it's like,
great point.
There's a level. I think it's more of a organizing management type of thing. Maybe, but you still have the superstars. But there's still some motivation that can still be happening with the coaches. Like for instance, the Pelicans in the playoffs. Willie Green willed them to win that play. Like he willed them. They were down by like 20. He basically was screaming at them, "You got to fight! Like, all right, you took their best hit. You got to fight." And it wasn't schemes that got him to do it. Like I still watch that clip every once in a while. We need to fire up.
It's a great clip.
He's yelling at like, "You all right? Come on! Like we gotta go. We gotta fight. You're not gonna get this easily." And they took off. Like those type of things, or even like Monty Williams and Phoenix Suns. A leader of men, regardless of kind of the talent, could push a team at least to a point where they're respectable. But NBA championships are won by superstars.
I do. And I think for me, if I'm an owner of a franchise, this is why I think about this. Do I want the best coach or the best player? I'll always take the best player.
Of course.
I just would, right? And I think that there's only a handful of teams. I think I like the 04 Pistons. They beat the Lakers. The Lakers that year had Shaq, Kobe, Horry, Fisher, Gary Payton, Karl Malone, a few other guys. Glenn Rice, I think, was on it. And they lost. They only won one game to the Detroit Pistons that had Ben Wallace, Richard Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, role players, Tayshaun Prince, good players. But that was the team. The coach, who was the coach?
Larry Brown.
Larry Brown was the coach. Great coach. Right?
Great coach, yeah.
So you're going to sprinkle in some situations like that. But for me, at the end of the day, you got to have a superstar. You got to have one or two superstars on your team. Greg Popovich probably ain't Greg Popovich if he doesn't draft Tim Duncan out of Wake Forest. He says that too. He says, my success is because I had Tim Duncan. Like he's the greatest power forward ever, or at least in my opinion. Yeah. If you don't have that, and he pushed the talent of like Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker to the brink. I mean, I remember Tony Parker talking about crying during the practices because Greg was on him, but he made him basically a Hall of Fame player with a couple of rings. So you have to. It's an equal mix of really good coaching, but if no superstars, no championship, and that's what they say. The NBA is a superstar league, and some people like that, some people don't. I like it. I mean, it is what it is. You got to get the talent, and they're on the court. For the majority of the game, you got to get the best talent. So at that point, I think. We can kind of turn that around and say your general managers should get more credit. They got to make this team put this team together. They got to draft the player. So like we give a lot of props to the general manager of the Boston Celtics. Those are homegrown. They didn't trade for like they drafted those players. Same thing with the Golden State Warriors. Yeah. They drafted those players. Even the Oklahoma City Thunder. They drafted Durant, Westbrook, and Harden, and they had them all the same. They had Ibaka. They drafted Serge Ibaka. They had a squad, and they never won. And some might say, "Hey, Pedro, why did they win? They didn't have a good coach." So there's always both sides. I get it. I just think for when you're an NBA player and you get to that level, I think these guys, mostly know what they're doing. They might need some motivation here or there, but the talent's going to win out usually. Yeah. And talent takes over in the NBA. That's why you could be down 20 and going into the fourth quarter, and the best guy, usually the best player on the court is going to show out and figure it out, and the best team will usually win. I just think that happens, and I just think some of these NBA coaches, man, how hard is it? How hard was it for Tyronn Lue to coach the Cavaliers in 2016? I don't know. They had LeBron James, is it a great coach? LeBron James had a lot of coaches in his career, but he still gets to the finals, right? Like just about every year.
I'm wondering, like, especially with LeBron James, because now it seems like he's not only he's the coach of the team, he's like the GM of the team, pointing out who he wanted. He wanted Westbrook, like that's what he
wanted. Like, Carmelo,
Russell. Okay, all right. I mean, they could have tried to get other players. I don't know if DeMar Rosen wanted to go there. It was some other a far more efficient players that wanted to go to Lakers. He said,
I think they could have had DeMar DeRozan, but I think they wanted Westbrook, and you see how that so far that hasn't turned out to be great.
So going to that question, so if you had the money, would you pay? What would you pay more? Like, what would you really spend the money on, the GM or the coach? Like,
yeah, I don't know. I maybe the GM. I don't. There's been some. Jerry West has been a great GM at several different places. The guy for the Bulls back in the day got a lot of flack, but he was traded for Rodman, drafted Pippen. Did some good things there. I don't know. I think the GM of a team, putting a team together is super important. And the coaching to me is very situational. I think in coaching some basketball on a very small level that I've done, the coach has to have assistants. The assistants are usually the ones that are actually coaching the players in the practices a lot. Right. And then on the sideline, the coach is making the decisions and things, So the head coach, I think, in the NBA just gets too much credit, in my opinion, because there's so many other things that have to fall into place, and the players being the number one. If you don't have good players, we've seen Larry Brown win in 2004 with the Pistons, and we've seen him go to other places in the end done nothing because he didn't have anybody.
Well, the Knicks. So even Phil Jackson. So Phil Jackson became the team president for the Knicks.
Yes,
and wasn't able to do. I don't know if it's just a black hole in the Knicks, because they have tons of coaches that came through at this point.
High name coach, like good name coaches, like they had some kind of clout behind them, and it hasn't happened.
Yeah. So you're right. It is situational. You kind of don't know what's in the locker room. Is the head coach trying to motivate the players, because players have egos. They have other things happening in their lives where we don't know if an NBA player is arguing with his wife at home, they having issues at home, like a lot of stuff that just like us, we deal with stuff at home. It can carry on when we go and do work and go do things. And does a head coach kind of like, they also are psychiatrists, also like give you support, ask you about your situation. Your baby mama's not talking to you, or she got you in court, and you can't, you only had 15 points to this game. You're supposed to be the head, the star of the game. Like I'm sure there's tons of small stuff, life stuff.
Yeah.
And if a coach can kind of mentor you and tell you it's going to be okay, or that player that needs a little bit more of an aggressive approach, you'll go after that player. Well, the other player is a little bit more sensitive. You take him to the back and talk to him. Those things, I think, do make a difference. But at the same time, you need a top 10 player, right? I want to say top 5. You probably need a top 5 player to win a championship.
I think in most years, you're going to have one top 5 player. If we look back at the last few years, you got Giannis. Yeah, he was top 5 last year. Yeah. The year before that, had LeBron and AD. Maybe 2 top 5 guys. Mm-hmm. Who won the year in 2019? Kawhi. Kawhi was top 5 that year.
Definitely.
2018 and 17, Kevin Durant was top, and Steph Curry top 5 in both years. 2016, LeBron James top 5. 15, Steph Curry top 5. 14, who won the 14? Can't remember. The 14, I think, was the Heat of the Spurs or somebody. So, Nowitzki or LeBron. So you have to have a top 5 player. And this year, if either team wins, some could say maybe Tatum's top 5. Others would say Curry is top 5. So I think that reigns true. Yeah.
The next question before we move on, do you think if Curry wins this championship and he becomes finals MVP, is he a top 10 all-time NBA player?
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, I do believe that. I think if you stack on another chip, that's 4 chips in not a long period of time, and then you're also adding a finals MVP to his repertoire. You're seeing, with the exception of yesterday's game, you're shooting 49% from the field, including threes. I think it's 49 from field goal and 49 from 3, which is amazing. Yeah. With not a lot of, Wiggins is giving them support, but I think he is. I think, I put him right there with Magic Johnson. I think, Magic Johnson has 5?
Yeah.
This will give Clay 4. Couple, just back-to-back MVPs. One of them, he's the only MVP to be a unanimous MVP in the history of the NBA. Michael Jordan never even did that. Kareem never even did that.
Which makes no damn sense.
It doesn't, but it really, never happened.
Who's voting for? It kills me. Some of these voters and these media types. I mean, I guess we were kind of in it where we producing
Having
media,
an opinion,
but the idea that Michael Jordan was the unanimous MVP probably for almost the entire career. But that Bulls run, who was better than Michael Jordan?
Nobody. Barkley won an MVP in '94. Karl Malone stole one in '96 or '97. Yeah, those guys shouldn't have won. They weren't better than Michael Jordan.
Yeah, same thing with LeBron. Like when his prime LeBron, he should have won it. But it's just some weird thing they want to make sure everyone gets one. It's very odd. I don't know. It just. But before we move on,
do you think he's top 10? Let me ask you that.
Oh, for Curry?
Yeah, if he does those two things.
The problem is, I don't know. I would say no, because the championships that were won in the playoffs with him, like if Iggy was not on that team, I don't know if they were gonna win. He did fall. He had the LeBron 3 games to 1, and somehow he was able to pull that. The Cavs were able to win. And Kevin Durant, I'm sure you remember, Kevin Durant was basically running the team at the end of each game. He was playing LeBron, and he was taking all the big shots. He was demanding the ball. And props to Curry.
In the fourth quarter,
the fourth quarter, the guy, Kevin was like, "Give me the ball. No one can stop my shot. No one could block me. I'm unblockable, and I'm gonna throw threes and just daggers." So that element, I put some points off.
So that discredits his championship
a little bit. He's the greatest shooter of all time? Yeah. If someone put him in the top 10, I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't argue at all. I think that.
Hold on. He is the best shooter of all time. I don't think that's debate. Okay,
There's no debate.
Okay,
There's no debate. He's the greatest shooter. Got it. So if he's on the top 10, no problem. But there's a list that we're going to talk about right now that I don't understand any of the top. I mean, you know what? Let's just start. Let's just start from the very beginning. So the Rolling Stones have the 200 greatest rap albums ever. And it took a lot of flack. I would say I saw a lot of criticism. It's written like let me see if I could check how many people actually contributed to this list. Let's
see.
I'm gonna put it up on the stream real quick.
Looks like about 12 to 15 names.
Yeah, I don't know who these people are, which is fine. Like it who I've just
16 people. Yeah,
16 people, and some of the lists, it's just some of the picks were a little off. Just a little off. I don't know who these people are. Don't know their like credentials. Like I don't know if I actually don't recognize any of these people's names. But there's a few. Oh, it just knocked you out of the thing. There's a few positions of some of these artists that kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit. And basically, I think the list is totally flawed from just a few of the biggest problems that I have with this list. So let's just go with the first one. Both of us think it's, a favorite rapper. They have in this list. I'm triggered right now, but let me.
I'm ready for it. Let's go. I like it. I like this animal.
Nas Illmatic is 24 on this list. How is that possible? Pedro, you're smart. You tell me how anyone can say, like, how these group of people said this list is done. Where's Illmatic? Oh, it's 24. All right, good. Press send.
I thought I was reasonably smart, but clearly I'm not, because they have one of the most impactful albums. Not only was this his debut album. Okay, Illmatic is right. It's a young man. He makes this album. They have him at 24. Some people would say this might be 24 if it's all music genres. If you told me Nas was 24 out of every album ever created, rock, class, hip hop, rock, country, then I'd be like, you know what? Okay, I could dig that. But 24 in just the hip hop, garbage. It's despicable, and it's hard for me to look at this list and give it credibility when that album is 24 and Cardi B is 16. I'm sorry. So it doesn't make any logical sense to me.
Yeah, jumping in with Cardi B. What?
I mean, they got Future's album, number 20.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say I like that album. It's not 20.
It's not 20.
It's not 20. No, not at all. I never even think of someone saying, "Oh, that Future album, that's one of the greatest albums I ever listened to."
I mean, they have Little Kim hardcore. Now, I like Little Kim. I'm not gonna lie. I think Little Kim lyrically has some talent. I remember that album. I was in high school, 1996.
It's her best album.
It's her best album. It's a good album. Yeah. But they have that over Illmatic. That's blasphemy, man. That's blasphemy. Yeah. Look at it.
And also, it's you know, like Biggie probably wrote a lot of those lyrics.
Sure.
Obviously, because they were together at that time. He's the one that kind of told her, "Hey, you gotta be sexy. You gotta bring the sexy kind of vibe."
Yeah.
But that's sex sell. Like he actually even knew that, and he was a smart. I mean, obviously, he knew what sold, but 24 for Illmatic is just not. It's just criminal.
It's criminal.
We could, Cardi B. Now, I don't know if you listened to that album. It was a solid debut album. Very surprising.
I have not. And Cardi B is talented. Cardi, I mean, I know she's got the banger on there. I forget the name of the song, man.
Yellow,
Red Bottoms or something. Yellow. Yeah, it's listen. Cardi B's talented, and I think what this list shows me is we're getting a little too 2022 inclusive. We need to have all kinds of things on these lists, and it's got to be represented. It's got to have this. It's got to have that.
Good point.
I feel like that's where they went with this. When I'm looking at this list, I'm seeing, they got the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill at 10. I can vibe. I won't
argue with that. There's some people
I can't argue with that.
It's the best rap. Like some people would say that was, and I wouldn't even argue. I mean, first of all, she's not just rapping; she's singing. It's one of the best albums. Like if someone put that as 10 of all genres, I will never argue. I love that album.
Can't argue with it. They got Missy Elliott 7. That's a little high.
That album, which is that the one? Is that her debut album? Because if that's her debut,
So Addictive. I think Missy E. I don't know if that's a debut or not. Third album. No, her third album. This is her third.
No, it's not.
Not even her best one. Not even Superfly. Right? Like, come on, man. Like it's a little. Some of the top albums they have on here, I can't argue with at all. But the 24, and they got Marshall Mathers, I think 25 or 20, like that should be in the top 10 in my opinion.
That should be bumped up.
It's all over the place, right? So I feel like if they just said, hey, these are the 200 and it didn't rank them, I don't have an issue, right? Whatever. But like the fact that they ranked it and the fact that some of these albums are significantly higher than what I consider classic albums, regardless of genre, it just doesn't make. I think they're just trying to be too inclusive and trying to be too cute with the list, in my opinion. Like Tupac's not even in the top 10. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
like,
that's a little off as well.
Like that doesn't. Machiavelli's got some bangers. All Eyes on Me.
Strictly, that should be these 15.
It doesn't. Logically, this list has a lot of flaws, in my opinion. So
let's give it some context, right? Rolling Stone is, I would say, a publication more about rock music. I know they probably at this point cover everything, so it's not a hip hop centric publication.
Good point.
I think that's a little bit there, and it looks like, and one of my theories is I think it's heavy commercial based list. Seems like, and like you said, also there's some like sneaking in some inclusiveness there, but very commercially based, I think. So the number one album for the Rolling Stones, 200 best rap album, they have Notorious B.I.G. Ready to Die. Won't argue with that. Even me, Brooklyn bias, obviously. So if someone said that was, I'll be like, yeah, I agree. I mean, what Biggie did in that album, people can't do now. And that album was released in 1994.
The way that album ends is just like, they don't make albums like that. Right? Rap albums on that. It's just
super like aggressive, creative, some emotional. The guy was able to put rhymes together that to a point where he died early, obviously, and that's why people still think, or some people say, he's the greatest rapper alive, whoever lived, because how strong this album was. So
and he only had two albums.
You only had two albums.
That's it. Yeah, it's crazy.
So number one, I won't argue. Number two, Stankonia. That's why I kind of feel like this is a commercially based list. Now, great album. I will listen to that right now. I feel like Aquemini is a better album of Outkast than Stankonia.
I agree.
But I feel like this is the album where they got their biggest commercial hits.
They had more top 100.
Yeah, Miss Jackson, Bombs Over Baghdad, So Fresh, So Clean.
Yeah.
So I feel like, or you put that there, is it because they finally got their due? But their best work was before, and I think I like Aquemini. I think that's one of the best. Like, if someone put Aquemini in the top 10, I wouldn't argue with it. Because again, it's subjective.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll just look at
this one. Let me talk about this real quick.
Sure.
This isn't even his best album.
I agree.
Okay.
You know what Reasonable Doubt is? You want me to tell you what number that is?
Well, Reasonable Doubt's his best album, and his second best album is the Black Album. So I don't know why the Blueprint's on here, but that's just my opinion. It's a great album, but it's not his best. Not even his best album.
Reasonable Doubt is 26.
That's like, for me, and this is, it's all, based on your flavors, right? And when you heard these albums, but you can give me Reasonable Doubt, Nomadic, and put both of those in the top 5, and I couldn't argue.
They should be. I mean, most respectful rap enthusiasts, if you want to call it, they put those two in the top 10. Easy. Yeah, and I love the Blueprint. I would say my second favorite album is the Blueprint, but is it because, again, to production, because he had Just Blaze, he had Kanye West. It's one of his probably strongest commercially based albums. He's him and Nas are going at it. There's a lot of context there. Yeah. But first of all, like Nas says, the Blueprint, the whole name was taken from KRS-One's album, The Blueprint. So I strong album. I don't know if it's top 10. It is one of Jay-Z's stronger albums, but Reasonable Doubt is a better album.
Yeah, and it's not this. The Blueprint's not the third best hip hop album. It's not. To me, it's not.
And you got Public Enemy. I guess this is when they tried to make it seem like this is a substance list.
Yes,
put Public Enemy in there. I'm like, all right. But it's just some of the other, and Kendrick, number 5. I won't argue with that. That's my favorite Kendrick Lamar album.
I remember you saying that. Honestly, and to my this is my own issues. I need to hear this album again. I need to get into this album very soon, because I don't know as much about this album as I do some of his other work. So I can't give a valid opinion on whether this is good at 5 or not. So I could see why people would say it would be there, but I just don't know enough about it.
You should definitely check it out. And I actually have an idea, since we're here and we're just chatting a little bit. I'll throw this idea at you live and see if you're interested. Now, you content creator, you have more than one channel. You have another channel where you react to music. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking in this channel, I will give you some songs that you never heard of. I'm sure I can hit you with some songs you ever heard of.
I'm sure.
And you play them and you react them on, and we put them on this channel. What do you think?
That's a great idea. Let's definitely do something like that. I think we could start with a couple songs from there, and maybe some songs from some of these albums that we're looking at that we're discrediting a little bit. Sure. Maybe I'm not, looking at this like the Cardi B's just like, what? The Little Kim's like, what? Like Missy Elliott, like what?
Well, Cardi B, I would definitely, there's no way she's 16. We kind of have an idea of why she probably is in there. Like I said, trying to put some stuff in there. It's a solid debut album. Solid. Her work past that album is the same song. So like her sound and her flow and the content gets repetitive. So like you notice, and also she's so much more successful and doing so many other things. Rapping was a way to get her to the next level. She was doing reality shows.
Great point.
Put in effort into rapping. Mind you, she did not just pop up with the album. She was releasing mixtapes and putting work out there. I know she's currently, I think she's still with the dude from Migos. And I think she kind of got that work ethic from them, because all they do is make music. You may not like it. It may not be your cup of tea, but they're pump music.
They're pumping the hits. Yeah.
And she kind of was able to get that done. So it's a solid album. They got some stuff, she's from the Bronx. Is that flavor? She's authentic. I think a lot of people who kind of argue that she's a little better than Nicki because she just feels like she's herself. The rhymes are decent, but 16, no, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think you made a great point. This is a Rolling Stones. I think if back in the day, if Vibe comes out with this, the Source magazine, like, hip hop magazines that know about the culture a little bit more and don't one week have a country star on it, then it's rock star on the cover of the Rolling Stone, and they're covering so many different genres, you know. So I think the contributing editors or people that are picking these 200 and placing them don't have as much of the culture of hip hop and the significance of some of these albums beyond the surface level of the pop culture significance, right? Because I'm looking at this album, Lil Wayne, the Carter 3, 2008, is 39. That's too high. That's a better album than 39. Okay, they have Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City, 2012 at 38. You mean Cardi B's album is not better than that? I'm sorry.
Not at all. I mean, she won the Grammy for that album, and she shouldn't have won that Grammy for that album.
Yeah, so it's just, you know, I think you bring up a great point about understanding the Chronic is 40. I mean, come on.
I was going to bring it up, and I was going to start screaming just now. Like maybe we should go to Rolling Stone's offices and like demand what drug were they all using when they made this? There's no way, and I think they put 2001 above this one. I like that album too. Most people, I've looked at lists of rap albums from the Source magazines and all. Everyone not everyone. Most people can say Dr. Dre, The Chronic is top 10 album. Yeah,
it is. In most lists I've seen, it's just to be that far apart, and to see the albums in between. It just logically, again, my brain, like I'm using my brain, my ears, the eye test. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, you know. Yeah. Is the significance even like it's just I don't know. It's NWA is 49, Straight Outta Compton from 1988. The significance of that album and what those guys did.
Yeah.
Not just that the music wasn't good, but you know, it's just to have, you know, it's a crime, man. I think these guys, I want to take their hip hop card. You know, I think we should do that on this podcast. Like when we see people making lists that look bad, we take their hip hop card, write them a little email. There's 16 people. We got the names right here. Christopher R. Weingarten. I don't know who you are, but I think you're trash. Noah,
think you're I don't know
Mosey, Jeff. Yeah. I mean, these people, man.
I don't know what they're looking at.
I don't know what they're looking at.
I'm looking at where's the Busta Rhymes album? So Busta Rhymes has not made an album in the top 100. Because I'm looking.
No. It doesn't. It's, you know, it's, you know, and I'm not a big Beastie Boys fan. Beastie Boys isn't in the top 50, but you got some of these other artists in here. Like, it just doesn't make make it make sense to me.
I don't know. Like, they have the albums, right? They have the ones here. The order is all messed up, right? Like, I'm looking through albums, and I gotta actually check them out. Actually, there's some I haven't even heard of, or haven't sit there and listened to.
Yeah.
But the order is all over. So Eminem, the Slim Shady LP is 85.
Yeah, that's I mean, he has one in the top. Well, I guess he has one.
I think the Marshall Mathers is probably the biggest one. His biggest commercially successful albums. That's the one again that kind of took him to the next level, that little higher. Just a little off.
I mean, they got Chief Keef at 32. Hey,
hold on a second, Chicago. Like, come on.
I hear you, but I think once again, you said, it's just they're just trying to have a good mixed bag. They want to make everybody feel inclusive and happy. At the end of the day, it's like, okay, we're gonna make a top 10 for NBA history players, and we're gonna, you know what, we're just gonna throw in Steve Nash because he's from Canada. Like, no, you're not gonna just throw Steve Nash in the top 10. He's in the top 100, but
we should check out the top 75 players, because there's a few we can argue about.
I'm sure there is. Tracy McGrady should be in the top 75. I think they got
Dwight Howard.
Yeah, they got some old guys in there that, like, come on, man, just because you know. So I think sometimes these lists, you know, they're fun to talk about them and debate them, because sometimes, depending on when they're made and who they're made by and the climate of what's going around us, they just want everybody to be happy, so they put in people, and it should be based on content. It should be based on ability, and you know, to have Illmatic at 24 is like, why even make this list? It just doesn't make sense. You know?
There need to be some rules if you want to make a list. First of all, I'm sorry, I'm guessing I'm gonna be a little bit discriminatory. You have to be at least 35 years old to make a hip hop list. You can't be in your 20s. You don't know anything. I'm sorry, young people. You don't know anything. They have Eric B. and Rakim Follow the Leader, where songs like Microphone Fiend, Lyrics of Fury at 79.
Crazy. I mean, Rakim shouldn't be anything out of the 50. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's crazy. They have LL Cool J ranked too high. It's just, or he needs to be down like more. It's a better album. And I think that, it's and Tupac, all eyes on me, he's 29. I mean, it's just tough, man. Because I see some of these. They got the Tyler the Creator album, and I'll be honest, I don't know a lot of his music. I know a little bit. I know he's very talented. I know his music is very different. I know it is significant.
I'll vouch for
Tyler.
But he's a little experimental. Like I don't necessarily put him with like I wouldn't necessarily compare. Well.
He's like a Kid Cudi spawn a little bit. Like he comes from that,
Eric Andre. Like he'll sing a little bit. But when he's freestyling, you can check on YouTube. The guy can spit.
I've seen it. I've seen some of that. Yeah.
So he's a little bit more experimental. But like Megan Thee Stallion is 75. So to this list, Megan Thee Stallion is a better album than Eric B. and Rakim.
No, nobody can tell me. Nobody can argue that. Now, I think what she's done currently in significance she holds for young Black women, young Black artists, young Black rappers, her owning her sexuality. I think there's a lot of power in that.
She's decent. The album,
and she can flow.
I like her flow.
But it's not a better album just because she was able to do those things. So I just think for me, this list is a little too inclusive and it's not as legit for me, in my opinion.
This list is terrible. I'm so triggered.
Even looking at it now.
I'm looking at it. It's just really bad. And I know there's some artists that were arguing that they didn't get in at all, or they were too high, or I forgot.
See, I didn't see that.
I know The Game reacted. The documentary was not in the top 200. I mean, I'm looking at this list. He should be in there. Like, I don't know. Like, I think that was a debut album.
I have a couple of his albums, and he's got some bangers. So yeah, they should be on there somewhere.
I would put him in there. That was his strongest album. He was with Gene Union. They had some really good stuff. The 200th album is Travis Scott.
Travis Scott. I can't argue. I mean, if anything, that's probably it's probably better than 200. Even if. I don't know. Like I've listened to the album. I don't hate the album. I don't love it, but I could probably name 20 albums that are listed higher than that shouldn't be, that are on this list, So, I mean, I think it depends. Who knows what the criteria were for these guys? Who knows if they looked at album sales, cultural significance, pop charts? Did they look at, who knows? I mean, it'd be nice to have those questions answered, but like I said, I think we start with the Illmatic at 24, and any list that has Illmatic at 24 in hip hop is not valid. In my opinion. So
if we can construct our top 10, what would that be? Like,
it's tough.
It's a tough
That's
one.
Tough. Give me a couple that you'd have in yours. Now add a couple to your list.
Well, clearly, I mean, we yell, and we don't like. I don't like Cardi B. I think for your homework, Pedro. I think put an album, listen to it. I think you'll like it.
I'll do that.
You would definitely know it won't be as high as ranked, but you actually enjoy it. I think there's some songs in there. She actually have a few songs where she's mixing in her culture. Got the Spanish music with rap, pop stuff. It's a little bit for everybody. Again, it's a commercially successful album. I think that's where they seem to be focused on. But we don't have to necessarily have to put it number one and number two. Nas, Illmatic should be in the top 10. I think we can all agree with that. I think Reasonable Doubt should be in the top 10. The Chronic should be in the top 10. I like Kendrick Lamar, Pimp a Butterfly.
So that's in your top 10? Okay.
I'll put that in my top 10.
Okay.
Let me see. What else would I put in? Aquaman. And again, it's so subjective, right? Like everything's a little different.
Do you have any Kanye West album in your top 10?
Now I think the highest they have is My Dark.
Number 6.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's his strongest album where he really just pumps out. He has the great features. He has like really great production.
Yeah.
Actually, they have another Kanye album very high, but you may disagree with me. I mean, look,
late registration, I think, is the one you're talking about. Maybe
there's another one that they have in the top. Sure, I might be able to figure this out in time. Yeezus, I think.
Yeezus, yes. Top is 17.
Too high.
That's not. I don't have that as his top 5 albums in mind. You know what I'm saying? So they got that as his second best album, and it's not even his 5th best album.
Great production, but you could tell he was experimenting with some stuff.
Absolutely.
And that was not like, I'm sorry, that's not like you said. I'm not in my top Kanye album or top 5 Kanye albums.
Right.
How's that 17? So it was just throw it in there. Eric B and Rakim, Wu-Tang,
36 Chamber
should be top 10.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out some more groups. I'm trying to think. I think I will put Dr. Dre's 2001 in top 10 too. Like I will put Dr. Dre two albums in there.
You put Dr.
It was just that good.
You put that in there over Doggy Style or
but he's the one making the music. He's producing it. So maybe I'll just have a bias towards producers.
Yeah. I mean, the Doggy Style album was a classic.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, that album was something different, man. I mean,
but that I'm just kind of running.
We talked about DMX. They got DMX. It's Dark and Hell is Hot at 22. That's a significant hip hop album when that came out.
Yeah. I would say it definitely. I don't know. I think it. I'm not too mad about that. I'll be honest. I'm not too mad. I think that's. I can rock with that. But should Doggy Style be a top 10? Yeah, I'll slide that in there. What's another Trop Called Quest? Midnight Marauders. Now they have a top. Do they have a top 10?
I don't think they had one in there. I don't think so. I'm looking.
Yeah. I love that album. And
it is the Low End Theories, number 9. Yeah.
All right, I wouldn't argue with that. I'll take that one. Lauryn Hill. I'll keep Lauryn Hill in top 10. I'll keep Tribe Called Quest, the Low End Theory. I mean, I like Midnight Marauders, but I wouldn't argue with that one.
I think their top 10 does have a good representation of hip hop. So overall, their top 10 as far as certain artists and some of the albums, I can't necessarily
locations
agree with.
From.
Yeah, I might switch a Jay-Z album for a different one, maybe a different Outkast album. But I think overall, a different Kanye album in the top 10. I take Missy Elliott out. It's just my opinion. Yeah. Definitely Lauryn Hill's album. I remember that when that came out. I think I was a junior in high school. It was
so good,
fantastic album. I mean, the melodies, the wordplay. Her rapping
she was
skills,
able to
everything,
sing and rap at a high level. Oh yeah, I know you're not a Drake fan.
Not a big one. I respect what he does, but he's at 11. For me, that's too high. I think there's also better albums than that.
No one says Take Care.
Oh, that's not his best now. Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense. So I mean, I guess the more we could look at this, the more we can just argue. Like Drake, I don't know if Drake would even agree Take Care is his best album. Right? Like
right.
That's not it. But yeah, I think you're right. I think there's an explanation of how they constructed this list that we're missing somehow, right? Like I said, maybe they're trying to put everything different eras in, but maybe this 200 and list the way that they constructed is something that's impossible, right? Like maybe they should do it in decades or regions or something more, because you can't satisfy everybody.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people were like, this list is trash, man. Like this doesn't make any damn sense.
Yeah, and maybe that's what they were going for, because listen, are we talking about the Rolling Stone, right? Is that a relevant publication at the moment? Not really. So maybe they're like, yeah, we're going to throw this out there. We're just going to see what, all right, we got this kid he just graduated college. He's 19. All right, let's go ahead and bring him in. He can write for us. We got this person. And this guy does rock reviews. We'll listen to these 5 albums. Tell me what you think. I think, who knows? They might have had some of that, because at the end of the day, I look at this and it's like, I don't think we need 200. Okay, I think it becomes a little. Some of these, they're great albums, but just give me a top 50 and make it good, right? Give me a top 25 and just really put some thought into it and look at the significance of when it was made, what it did for the culture, what it did for people, empowerment, what it did for movements, what it did for, did that album spawn other rappers to make music and inspire them? So when I look at stuff like that, I don't know, maybe that's where they were going with it. I have no idea. Maybe that's why Cardi B's high. Maybe that's because, a lot of, maybe that's why some of these artists are high on here. But it's just, the Illmatic one. I know I keep going back to it, but like, it's just such a.
There's not one song you skip.
No,
there's not one song you can skip. And Cardi B's album, there's probably a few you're gonna skip.
So
but I want you to listen to it though. So next episode,
I'll do that.
You give me your full Cardi B review, Invasion of Privacy.
Because I want to make sure one thing's clear. I'm not a Cardi B hater. I'm using that because when I looked at this thing, it was just, I'm not. I think she's super talented.
Yeah.
I got mad respect. I like, her and even Megan Thee Stallion, and like, I like some of these women that are making hip hop music because I think they're taking back, for so many years, men talked about get down, do this, bend it over for me, I get it. And these women come along, like even Lil' Kim back in the day in high school. I remember that album. It was a
Foxy
big
Brown,
album.
like, that's another rapper.
Exactly. You had people like MC Light was a true MC. I remember Queen Latifah, UNITY. Like, I remember, these are, why is Queen Latifah should be higher than Cardi B, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, I just gotta throw that out there. It's no hate. It's just, I just disagree with the list. So
are we just old? Are we just old and we are just too nostalgic, and
maybe
now everyone is a little younger and like, hey, listen, boomers, hold on a second. There's some other stuff here that's just as good. You're just too old to understand it, old man. Like, are we too dismissive of the newer stuff that they put onto this list?
I think sometimes I might be, but I do definitely also have a recency bias. Like I enjoy some of the new Kanye stuff. I think Donda's, I've said this a million times. I just love the album because of how it makes me feel, how it makes me think, right? How I get into his brain. He's going through this divorce. He's going through this. He's battling with, he's going through his bipolar. So, so I get it. I can feel that album. I want to feel music, right? I don't want just club bangers. I want to feel it a little bit. So. But definitely I got a little get off my lawn with your boombox in me. I got a little old man in me, and I like to reminisce about the high school days when I'd go to the record store on a Tuesday because the new Jay-Z was dropping. And now kids have no idea what that means. They just go and download. And there's something to be said for like anticipating an album and waiting to see what the source was how many mics was that album going to get? Oh, they got 4 mics. You see, they gave him 4 mics. Oh, they trashed that album. They gave him 2.5 mics. Like, you look forward to that, right? You wanted to see who was going to get the 5 mics. That was a big deal, right? So Biggie's album drops, they give him 5 mics when so when the double album came out. So it's just like, you're looking for that, Jay-Z's about to drop. Is he going to get 5? Is he going to get 4? Is he going to get 4.5? Like, and those days are just gone, right? And I miss that a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I understand. I think we explained it pretty well, at least from our perspective on the source of the list and some of the ideas of how they probably constructed the list. And I respect them for even putting it out there. I think they did. I think what you said is absolutely correct. I think they wanted people to talk about it. They may even knew that they were throwing in things to troll us, and we fell hook, line, and sinker. So congratulations to Rolling Stone. I think that's probably what they're trying to do, because some of these picks were ridiculous, and they have to know. Like, there was some old black guy. I don't know. Maybe he's not even working it, but maybe he's Janet, and he's looked at the list on the board. Like, they probably wrote this on a whiteboard, and he looked at it and probably stared at it. And he had
the Matt Damon moment, like from.
He was like, "You think this is you got this? You got the Illmatic right here? You sure?" He was like, "Yeah, you know what? Just put it in there, troll and get people to talk about it. Who cares? We don't even really like hip hop is a part of our thing, but it's not the entire thing. Let's get people to watch, go on the website, go on social media, engage, argue, and fight, because that's how it is when ESPN puts their top players, NFL, and also the artists, the athletes respond to it.
Yeah.
Right. They are on like the games, like why my album is in there. It's like, it's not. Let me check out.
He's in his feelings right now a little bit, though. Don't you think the game? I've been seeing some interviews. I feel like the game's like wants a little attention. He said something the other day. I know we're going off topic, but maybe it's a good segue.
Yeah.
So he was being interviewed. I couldn't remember who was interviewing him. I saw this just this week, and I don't know how old the interview is, but I know it's pretty recent.
Yeah.
He said, and I quote, "If I wanted to be a billionaire, I could have been a billionaire, but I chose not to be a billionaire."
Yeah.
Who talks like that? Like, come on, man, like seriously, like how many billionaires are there? And you're telling me that you chose not to be a billionaire? And he's like, I just spent $3 million at the Balenciaga store. No, you didn't. I mean, come on, you didn't spend $3 million at the Balenciaga
Hopefully he
store.
did not. I know
he didn't.
I'm sure he's doing. He's still pretty well financially. Hopefully he did not spend. Especially now where we're going to be getting into some kind of financial situation in our country. Hopefully he did not do that.
That's crazy, but he said it. And I think he just wants a little attention. Hey, I'm a game fan. I think he's got some good music. Got nothing against him, but I think every once in a while some of these guys go a little crazy. He's just maybe having his moment. So
yeah, I think with him, he couldn't. His ego, him and 50's ego, and their personalities clash. They were going to have a dominant stable with G Unit. I love Lloyd Banks. I think very underrated. You can, he was a punchline rapper. He always had great punchlines. I don't know, like maybe he had like the songs. He had a few songs, but he didn't seem like he wanted to be like in the public eye. But they had a pretty good stable. And for some reason, I forgot why they were fighting. But it just went off the rails, and I think the game got left behind. I think if he stuck around with 50 Cent and kind of knew his place a little bit, 50 Cent now he didn't have to rap. Actually, Get Rich and Die Trying. Where is that?
I didn't see it in top 50. I know that.
That's
a significant. I mean,
Dr. Dre produced his ass off in that album.
And it has no skips. That album has no skips.
No, absolutely.
We talked about that earlier. That album does not have any skips.
How 50 Cent is not on this in the top 50?
It's weird, man. It's crazy.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go back. I'll keep looking at it. Get Rich and Die Trying is not in the top 50. All right. Well, we'll move from there. So we got some homework, right? We're gonna check out the Cardi B album. By next week, we'll know who won the championship. I guess
we will. We might know in 2 days. I hope not, but I hope it goes to Sunday. I think, Sunday will be Game 7. I think. So we'll see. But I'm hopeful, but I'm not optimistic. I think the Warriors. I think Curry's gonna have I can see him dropping a 50 piece. I could see him hitting some big threes and Mike Breen saying bang a couple times and it just being and the Boston crowd just leaving early. I could see that happening. I really could. I think it's going to be really dependent on how they start, the physicality of the Celtics. And Jason Tatum, he's got to take it up. I know he's got another level in him. He's got to stop turning the ball over as much. And I need him to continue to get to the free throw line, hit his free throws, because a top player in the NBA, he missed 2 free throws in under 5 minutes in that game. Back to back. He's at the free throw line. After getting fouled, he misses both free throws when the game is close. Superstars don't do that.
No,
so he's got to
miss together. 2 of them. Can't miss 2.
You cannot do that. No.
So we'll see. We'll talk. We'll recap the games. See. Hopefully, we'll see what's going on with that, and we'll check out your review, Cardi B album, and check out the YouTube channel. Obviously, you're on it right now. If you enjoy it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. And I think we're going to have a little extra content on the YouTube channel where, we're going to throw some songs, and it'd be songs that I think you haven't heard or maybe haven't really taken a chance to check out. And, you put it on, we'll upload it, and you can have your honest reaction to some of these songs. And let's give some of these songs that were ranked highest a chance, right? Like let's pull some gems out there, even some songs that are just, songs on the album that's not necessarily the singles. But I think we'll have a good time with that. And and put in the comments below, guys, what do you guys think about this list? I'm gonna put the link of the list on the description below. And
let us know what I want to know. Hannibal and I want to know, what is your favorite hip hop album and why? Drop that in the comments down below as well.
And if you have the top 10, throw the top 10 down there. We'll let you know if it's terrible.
If it's trash, I will let you know. Yes,
we will let you know. Like, we may even like go in our real, other names and put like, this is terrible. So we won't do that. We want a lot of, like, listen, if you think the list is great and we're idiots, let us know. We're totally cool with that. Like, it's very subjective, but I think it's a consensus of like real hip hop, hardcore hip hop heads. I don't think they really like this list. So on that note,
true.
We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.